Yo, what up, street dogs, street gods, ASMR dogs? Eric Kim in the house, right? Some thoughts. This thought is about investing in monopolies, digital monopolies. So what does that mean? Honestly, at this point, Apple is too big to fail. So Culver City 10, 8777 Washington, they just bought out the whole Venice Boulevards. And considering that Culver City is going to be the next Beverly Hills meets, Rodeo Drive meets Holmby Hills meets Hollywood. Actually, this is the thing that a lot of people don't understand, right? Everyone thinks that Hollywood's where all the action is. No. Like, literally 100% of the action is in Culver City and with Amazon, all the other streaming, HBO Max. So digital streaming and digital media is definitely the future. Even Amazon, they did the LA Tech Week, and I think they got that one basketball player, Byron, I don't even know his name, but anyways, good future. So the generalized idea is, thinking 30 years ahead, Eric Kim's razor, invest in stuff that's like too big to fail. So, obviously, Apple, we're always going to want to have an iPhone with us. And not only that, but now essentially Apple has the new passwords app. Shout out to the Apple developer team. It's actually really good. My suggestion to Apple is just change up the icon. It's like, why are you making the new passwords app look like, make it look like the Google Calendar icon. Just make it like that soft teal blue that you have in one of the Apple buildings. Like a baby blue. Because actually, I think what Apple has dominated is, funny enough, if you think about the color logo of Apple, they try to make a dual tone, right? But actually, in fact, it's kind of it's kind of whatchamacallit, the blue color is actually kind of the Apple color, so just make it blue, right? So Apple is too big to fail at this point. Amazon is also too big to fail. I mean, I think practically speaking, rather than just investing in the S&P 500, better to invest in Apple. I mean, it's just easier. So if you just want more peace of mind, just invest in Apple. It looks pretty good. It's good. It looks super fit. Like Kanye's like, do you want a boss or what? With the six pack, right? So just be a boss. So dominant digital monopolies, right? Like Bitcoin, MicroStrategy. Essentially, MicroStrategy at this point, it's kind of like the juggernaut. I'm the juggernaut, right? And it's like this big juggernaut Bitcoin steamrolling, steroided out machine that is essentially unstoppable at this point. Even if Apple puts $50 billion into Bitcoin, still 70% of their business is still going to be the phone business. And I think Apple will still probably meet or exceed the S&P 500. So if you just want a quote safe bet, Apple is fine. I love Amazon, but still Amazon's too risky. I think issues with tariffs with China. I mean, my personal thought is, if and when Donald Trump gets elected, it's going to become more antagonistic towards mainland China, and this is why I say get off TikTok while you can. I wouldn't be shocked if TikTok gets banned sooner or later. So anyways, as a consequence, it looks like the smart strategy here is, invest in things that are too big to fail. MicroStrategy, MSTR, it's owns 1.1% of the world's Bitcoin supply, and they're trying to shoot for Nakamoto, which is the mythical 1 million Bitcoins, the same as Satoshi's wallet, that's worth $50 billion right now. And MicroStrategy, Bitcoin, obviously the dominant network, not loser Ethereum. Yeah, it's. I think people they kind of forget, right? Like, Ethereum is like the Android, Bitcoin is like the Apple. Come on, like nobody wants a Pixel phone. Like you couldn't give me one for free. It's just like it's like $1,000 adware. Like as long as you cannot turn off ads in Google Maps, the whole thing is not worth it. So Google's, you're watching this. If you're a Google One subscriber or whatever's right, or Gemini, whatever you call it, just have a way to disable ads for the Google Maps. I mean, come on, that's like, I wonder actually if you guys have indirectly caused potentially accidents or deaths because people looking at those stupid square icons when they're driving. So even now, I use Apple Maps, even though it is the inferior, product because there's no ads. Unless I'm like super in a rush, then I'll use Google Maps because it's much faster and the better product, and I'm more used to it. But anyways, yeah, like even Steve Jobs, right? So like I'm the ghost of Steve Jobs, right? Like even he got super mad at Sergey and Larry Page. It's like, dude, you guys were like supposed to focus on search. Why you guys create Android and trying to steal market share from Apple when we're obviously superior to you? So it's kind of like a reminder where you think about the Archimedes lever, focusing on things that you're insanely good at. So obviously Apple has the whole iPhone manufacturing thing down. And also the cool thing about Apple is the new iOSs, I think they're really cool, and there's still like a lot of new innovation. And even Steve Jobs is like, I want to make a company and corporation so imbued with innovation that even after I dead, it can still go on. And there's a reason why there's still the Steve P. Jobs Theater, albeit it's not as cool and exciting as it once was. Obviously Apple's going to be around for the next 30 years. Your kid's going to be using an iPhone, not an Android phone. NVIDIA, too many risk factors. I think it's too risky. If somebody pioneers a new way to create AI chips or something like that, their whole business could fold. But alas, it's just buy MicroStrategy, 80 to 90% MicroStrategy, and 10 to 20% Apple. Seems like a pretty safe hedge and bet. I said no to the Super Bowl. You need me, I don't need you. All right, some Jay-Z thoughts. Investing in the dominant network, the dominant protocol. So the reason why English is the best language is, it's, what the world speaks in business. And if you want to make the monies, you want to become famous on the YouTubies, internet whatevs, dominant the ChatGPT's English is your best bet. So honestly, the English language is not the best language, but for one reason or another, like base 10 math, there's apparently base 2 math, 6 math, 8 math, 12 math, but English has remained. For most of the other world, the metric system seems to make a lot more sense. Actually, the reason why people also don't understand why the metric system will never take foothold in America is that, there's some things that, unbeknownst to us, for irrational reasons, are very stubborn. So America's use of the standard system, pounds and feet, it's not going to change. I mean, like, even because American media, right, to be 6 foot tall, 7 foot tall, it sounds more impressive than I'm 182 centimeters or 190 centimeters. And a foot, everyone knows what a foot looks like, right? So my personal thought is investing in the dominant network. So the Bitcoin network is the new electricity. Can you imagine living without electricity? It's like the new clean running water. It's the new penicillin. It's the new TCP, the new POP email platforms. And the market has already decided 99% of the world's capital and monies has gone into the Bitcoin networks. So obviously at this point, it's going to remain to be the dominant. So I think the problem is a lot of people who spend too much time on, Reddit or, watching movies, everyone's rooting for the underdog, right? But the sad truth is, the underdog doesn't win. That only happens in the movies. In real life, the dominant win, right? So, for example, currently at 8777 Washington, yeah, I mean, you could see, right? Like, by far, they're gonna buy out. They already bought out the whole thing, right? And I mean, instead of just borrowing in the boring S&P 500, you know, or your spouse or somebody who wants a super safe investment, obviously Apple is the safest thing. It's like, ain't nobody gonna be trading away their smartphones for a loser Android phone. Nobody wants an iPhone. Nobody wants a Samsung phone. Nobody wants a Google Pixel. Even if in fact, whatchamacallit, Android Pixel was indeed superior, it's not. Apple is just like a quadrillion times ahead of the game. And, you know, at least here in the States, only poor people don't have iPhones. You're given a free Samsung phone or a free Pixel phone. A bunch of only the weirdos have the Android phones at this point. It's the superior platform. It's kind of also like with electric vehicles. It's like people say EV. It's not EV. It's a Tesla. You drive a Tesla, or you don't drive a Tesla. And I think that Elon Musk is the GOAT. I mean, the reason why, in terms of just quote safe investments, I would not do Tesla, even though I'm a big fan of Elon. Honestly, I think it's just too risky. I think there are too many risk factors. One thing I actually learned in sociology, which is interesting, is anything that's run by a charismatic leader doesn't tend to last. So you think about like all these charismatic leaders, you know, Mao Zedong, blah blahs, Ho Chi Minh. Essentially, after they die, the whole thing kind of falls. And I think what's kind of interesting is Bitcoin, the Bitcoin networks, right? It's like a protocol. It's like it's not a security. It's it's kind of like selling, fossil fuels or selling corn or chickens and pots, right? It's like a commodity, right? It's the first digital commodity. And what's unique about a commodity is there's not an issuer, so you can't just have like a political lobbyist saying something and it's not going to be good for the thing, because the problem with, let's say, you have a senator saying Apple is great, you should buy Apple stock, is going to pump up the value of Apple stock. But if somebody goes out and says buy Bitcoin, it's like telling people to buy gold. It's like, gold is made by the planet, there's no issuer, and therefore it's a more ethical, sound thing to invest in. Now the problem with the gold, they're mining more of it. There's a lot more gold in the earth, 1 to 2% more yield, which means in like 30-40 years the value of gold is going to go down by half. So even Michael Saylor says something interesting. It's like, what's the difference between 1 to 2 to 3% versus 0%? Even at 1%, your thing is only good for you're good to live for another 30, 60 years. But 0% means you're going to live forever. And all these nerds are trying to live forever, but better to buy the asset or the digital capitals that's not only gonna last forever, it's gonna like, it's the ultimate anti-fragile thing. So even though Nassim Taleb, first he was pro-Bitcoin, now I think he's anti-Bitcoin. I think what's interesting is, something is good. Is that a semi?
Yes.
I love it. Do you work at Tesla?
My husband does.
Oh, tell him that's the coolest shirt of all time. See you later. So yeah, essentially, what I find so fascinating about MicroStrategy, Bitcoin, and stuff like that, right? You're essentially not trapped in the physical realm where, even where I'm more Michael Saylor than Elon at this point, is Michael Saylor said it well, don't think about space like Mars, think cyberspace, the internet. So it's already here, right? And I love Elon for his grand visions for the future. I guess for me, I'm more of a realist, pragmatist. Like, I like Earth, right? I don't want to go to Mars, and I don't want to be on a spaceship. yeah, just I like going on hikes, I like lifting weights, I like the sunlight, I like natural sun, I like being topless, I like flexing my muscles, etc. Right? And the good thing with cyberspace is that you're not bound by the laws of physics, right? Like it's weightless, it's, you know, there's zero friction in it, right? Whereas in real life, right, and the reason why Tesla is such, like, in some ways Tesla and Elon is so underrated, but also it's so bad because, you know, having to create new factories to produce lithium and cyber trucks and now the robotaxi, there just seems to be too many laws of physics that's going to get in our way. I do think that the robotaxi and everything's going to take over, but it's going to take like too long, 5 to 10 years, maybe 30 years. Like, I don't have time to wait for that. You know, MicroStrategy is currently absolutely murdering it right now. Like what? The analogy is, let's say in the physical realm, it takes you 5 years to build a skyscraper, right? In cyberspace, you could do it in 5 days. Who knows, maybe even 5 hours, right? And so this is where I think the cyber real estate is a more interesting idea. And people are like, oh, it's not backed by anything, it's not worth anything. It's like, okay, if, you know, $80 billion have gone into producing the thing, yeah, it is actually backed by something. And actually what's interesting with the Bitcoin network is that there's like, I think the Bitcoin network has more firepower than the whole US Navy, right? And so ultimately people think, oh, you know, the electricity consumption at Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network is bad for the planet, blah, blah. I'm like, bro, don't you know that like washing machines and dryers and like, you know, air conditioning takes like 20% of the world's electricity, yet everyone needs it and wants it and likes it. Yet Bitcoin takes what? 1%, less than 1%, and it's actually far more valuable because assuming that 50% of the world's problems could be solved with fixing the money, aka Bitcoin over the US dollars, it's ethical, it's more just, it's you know, it's better for the planet because effectively yeah, like think about how many wars and bad things happen as a consequence of, you know, having essentially dirty fiat money, which is pulled by lobbyists. Now, I think what I like about Bitcoin is it is apolitical. It is good for you, good for the planet.